Well, so here we are in the hills yet again, and yes, we've come back to Himachal for yet another road trip, and this time we've traveled all the way up to Narkanda from Delhi. Yes, it is a long trip, and I've managed to borrow the Maruti Suzuki Swift. Now, this car is by far the best new car launch of 2018. I can stretch out my neck and say that in the first 6 months of this year, this has been the best car, and it stands a very strong chance to win the best new car of the year award for this calendar year. But that's not it. This car is also probably one of the two best hatchbacks that money can buy at the moment in India. Well, so why have we decided to bring this car all the way up to Narkanda from Delhi and travel all this distance? Well, simply to find out if it really is one of the better car launches of this year, and if the Swift moniker really does do justice to this new third generation Swift. How good is it on the highway? How good is it to drive up the hills? And what is its fuel efficiency as well as air conditioning performance? We'll find that out on the show today. Well, one of the biggest reasons to buy the new Swift is simply for these fabulous seats. These seats offer you excellent cushioning, excellent support, and very good relaxation. And when you're out on that long highway trip like I have been all day today, then you will not feel tired in the least. In fact, if there was ever an award category especially for comfort as well as relaxation, then the front seats of the new Swift will win that award completely, hands down. Another thing that you will truly like are these nice rotary knobs for the automatic AC over here. They really look very cool, and they have a nice and tactile feel as well. Another big negative in my book is this glove box. Now, it is really very small. It's a very tiny glove box, and once you put in your papers and maybe that odd box of chocolate and Diet Coke cans in it, there's not much that it can accommodate. Also missing is that glass holder over here, that cup holder over here in front of the AC vent, which was present on the last generation of the car, and that was a very big help, especially if you were on a long highway trip like we have been today, because it simply kept the drink over here cool because of this air vent. So that's something which a lot of buyers will miss, especially when they take their car out on the highway. Well, so we've just begun our journey up the hills, and I have to say that apart from the comfortable and relaxing seats, another thing that you'll truly like about the new Swift is the light steering wheel, the light clutch, as well as the light gearbox. Yes, you won't be feeling tired in the least after driving this car all day long on the highway. And unlike a lot of other cars where the clutch and steering is really heavy and takes a lot of effort to use, on this one you'll feel refreshed and completely focused on the road and not feel tired at all, as I said, because everything is so nice and easy to operate. Well, most buyers will also appreciate the nimble chassis of this car. Yes, the chassis of the new Swift is really nice and agile, and of course you'll appreciate that when you're moving up the hills, because when you are turning this car into bends, the chassis really does favor keen drivers. Apart from that, you'll also appreciate the sharp brakes as well as the grip from the tires. Yes, the overall dynamics of this car are very reassuring and very stable. Out on the highway also, we've been driving the entire day. This car offered very good stability, and even when we pushed it beyond 100 kph on a few occasions, this car did not break any kind of sweat. And kudos to Maruti Suzuki for giving it such a nice balance between overall comfort, agility, as well as relaxation. Well, another thing that people will appreciate is the fuel economy of this car. Now remember, we have the petrol version of this car with us and the manual gearbox over here, and we've been getting figures in excess of 17 kpl. When we were doing straight line plain highway driving, we were getting about 17.8, and ever since we've got on this hilly section of the road and we went up the hills, the economy has understandably gone down slightly, but even then it is displaying a very impressive 17.2 kpl overall. And we've driven about 200 kilometers on the plain highway and about 100 odd kilometers on these hilly sections. So in total, those 300 kilometers that we've gone up, it's been a nice mix of highway as well as hills, and even then 17.3 is pretty impressive. Well, not only is this 1.2K series engine very good for fuel economy, it's also extremely good for refinement. And I will stretch out my neck and say that in any premium hatchback available on the market right now, this is probably the best engine for sheer drivability, economy, as well as refinement. Yes, drivability of this engine is also very good. It starts responding from a very low RPM, and if you're driving this car primarily in the city, you'll really enjoy driving it because it doesn't take a lot of revs to get going, and when it does get going, it really is a motor which loves to rev. You can rev it all the way up to its red line of about 6,000 RPM, and this engine will not break a sweat. And there's also a nice and sporty note towards the end of its red line. If you are, of course, a keen driver and really enjoy revving your car hard, there is a nice and sporty note available towards the end of its red line. One other thing that buyers who drive this car up the hills like me will appreciate is the fact that visibility all across in the front is very good. Yes, the pillow over here is nice and chunky, but even then you can easily look around it, and visibility from the back window also isn't too bad for a relatively compact hatchback. The only small issue that I have is that Maruti has really downsized the rear view mirrors, and their depth of field isn't as great as in the earlier Swift. Yes, the earlier Swift, remember, had very large and chunky mirrors, so you could really see a lot of things happening towards the back. But on this car, well, some of those things aren't truly visible, and there is, of course, a blind spot when there is another car very close to you. So Maruti really should revert back to those big and chunky mirrors on the Swift, and that's something that most buyers will appreciate. Well, so out of a score of 100, how much will I give the new Swift? Well, I would give it a very strong score of 90, and it's something that I've always said when I've driven the Swift, even in my reviews or comparisons. And the reason for that is that it is a very good all-round package. Yes, the earlier Swift was a little compromised for rear legroom, it was a little compromised for boot space. It is probably the best all-round hatchback that money can buy at the moment. It has a very nice engine, it has a very fuel economical engine, it also has very comfortable front seats, there's good room in the boot, and there's decent space in the cabin as well. And overall, I think it is a car which should tick most boxes for most hatchback buyers out there. And a lot of people have asked me, how does the car feel when you're doing speeds in excess of 100? Does it tend to become light? Does the steering wheel tend to become overtly light? And is there a feeling of nervousness around the car because Maruti has reduced the weight? In fact, the steering wheel, even though it is very overtly light, no matter what speed you're driving, it is very accurate. It is a very accurate steering wheel. It's a steering wheel which is very, very positive, and it's a steering wheel which has the right amount of feedback. It's not a steering wheel which makes you feel nervous on the highway or in the hills, and you know exactly what the wheels are doing. And the best part is that because it's light, you don't end up feeling tired, because a lot of buyers who drive these cars for long distances do complain after a long day behind the wheel that their arms are tired because of the clutch and the gearbox and the steering. No such issues on the Swift. Well, if you're driving up the hills, you should also remember that there is a bit of a water issue at the moment in the hills, so you should try and conserve water if you are, of course, heading up to Shimla or any other part of Himachal. And you should always conserve water even if there's no issue. But yes, right now there is a bit of an issue, and all those news stories are true, so it is better to be very, very particular about your water usage and help people in the hills conserve water better for next season. Another thing that you'll truly appreciate is the fact that Maruti has given this car a lot of information on the onboard trip computer. So not only do you get a shift indicator, but you also get distance to empty, as well as the actual live fuel economy, along with a lot of other things. So that's something that the earlier Swift didn't really have, and people who buy this car will appreciate. In terms of overall ride comfort, the car's suspension setup is slightly on the firmer side. It is slightly firmer compared to the earlier Swift as well as the current generation Desire, but that's quite okay, because a firmer suspension basically means that if you're driving this car at speeds in excess of 100 kph, the car really does feel very well planted. And even though Maruti Suzuki has lightened up the chassis from the earlier generation car, it doesn't have a feeling of nervousness about it, and it definitely feels very reassuring. And in fact, it does feel a lot more reassuring than my ex-girlfriend ever did. Well, so I hope that you have enjoyed watching our video today, and don't forget to subscribe by clicking on the link below. And as always, tell your friends about us and share our videos on all your social media platforms. It's bye for now, and hope to see you soon.